What's good? We back with the Boxing Link and more. Y'all know what it is. We back on the boxing grind. Let's jump right into it. Seems like Billy Joe Saunders, Jermall, Charlo have been exchanging some tweets over the last few weeks, ever since the Eubanks and Groves thing. We talked about Charlo, getting mad at Billy Joe Saunders for taking a shot at Chris Eubanks Jr. That's basically, he just did that to get Billy Joe Saunders' attention. And then Billy Joe Saunders retweeted something that Maul said yesterday. We get into that in a minute, but this would be a hell of a fight. I think a lot of people will be interested in this fight. I don't think Billy Joe Saunders is going to take any risky fight until he sees what happened with Canelo and Golovkin. If Golovkin loses, then he might, consider doing the fight, because Canelo's handlers, Golden Boy, don't want to do Saunders and Canelo. They already said that. But this is what Maul tweeted out. And Billy Joe Saunders retweeted it. Lion, real talk at Billy Joe Saunders Future of Boxing. Let's make it after the 14th of April. I'll slap you silly. Jackson Brothers, I'm bad. And they've been jabbing each other back and forth a little bit. But I think if Canelo beat Golovkin, does Billy Joe Saunders take a risk and face Jacobs or face Charlo? Because Canelo would technically be Jermall Charlo's mandatory. Charlo talking about the other night, they had to pay $1 million to step aside. So, would you give up your WBC mandatory shot at Canelo Alvarez to fight Billy Joe Saunders? I think he would, just to get a belt. So, I guess it could happen. I think Billy Joe Saunders like his chances versus Charlo more than Jacobs, because the perception is, Charlo isn't battle tested. But in my opinion, who is Jacobs beating? I think the Julian J-Rock fight was better than any win Jacobs got. The biggest Jacobs win was, Peter Quillin, Caleb Truex, Sergio Mora. People was fabricating in Danny Jacobs just because he lost to Triple G. He don't have no great wins on his resume. He been in the game a long, long time. I remember they was trying to, hype him up. He got stopped by Pirog, iced out, Snowman. And people don't understand that resume is fabricated. But the perception is he's more seasoned, he's more feared. And I think Billy Joe Saunders probably go for Charlo. People think Charlo's sweet. People say, well, Austin Trout gave him a problem. Well, didn't Austin Trout give Canelo a problem? Most people thought Austin Trout beat Canelo. So what is people talking about? Didn't Austin Trout beat Miguel Cotto? No, I'm just saying. So, a lot of people got really short-term memory. And people forget that was Jermall Charlo's first step-up fight. Maul didn't have the tough fights. He didn't have the tough fights that Mel had. Mel had a lot of tough fights coming up. Maul didn't have that Von Trojan type of fight. And could that Von-ass type of fight, that adversity type of fight, beat Billy Joe Saunders? Absolutely. Charlo said he'll make Billy Joe Saunders come to him. He said he's going to move. So it'll be an interesting fight. It's a lot of interesting fight at middleweight, but it's a lot of guys taking fights that shouldn't be taken. Like Sullick and Danny Jacobs. Like, get the fuck out of here. Billy Joe Saunders and Martin Murray. Get the fuck out of here. Murray, at minimum, Murray and Jacobs. Saunders and Jacobs should be fighting. You know what I'm saying? Jermall Charlo, he got an agenda. At the end of the day, people say, "Oh, he fought a guy with one leg." That was the number one WC mandatory. So he's supposed to pass down the number one mandatory shot versus, Jorge Sebastian Highland, because you guys said, "Oh, it's not worthy." Like, shut the hell up. He's in position to be the Triple G Canelo Alvarez mandatory. Canelo's fighting for the Triple G for WC belt now. So a lot of fans should be talking out there. At the end of the day, people using an excuse like, "Who was Charlo beating?" I like Charlo wins over Trout and Julian J. Rock Williams better than any Danny Jacobs win. People talking about Peter Quillin. Peter Quillin wasn't even boxing no more. He just got stopped by he didn't get stopped, but he went to a draw with Andy Lee, for God's sakes. Shout out to Andy Lee, he retiring. He was 1 foot in the door and 1 foot out of boxing. That wasn't Peter Quillin, but most people thought Peter Quillin would win over Jacobs because of Jacobs' chin. And that proved to be false. I thought Peter Quillin was going to win, but Quillin just didn't have it no more. And you got to give Jacobs full credit, but, a win over the hill Peter Quillin, because Gabriel Rosado was giving Peter Quillin all he wanted, before that fight, or a couple fights before that fight. So people forget that. People got selective memory, People forget Sergio Mora putting down Danny Jacobs, you feel me? But this would be a hell of a fight. Charlo said he'd be willing to go over to the UK to face Saunders. Saunders got skills, he got hands, he got speed, and I predict that Saunders is gonna have a lot of fans going into this fight. You know, and people get mad at the Charlos and Deontay Wilder for talking, but at the end of the day, if they don't talk, how do they get these fights? How? You know, if they don't talk, how do they get these fights? Closed mouth don't get fed. And people making excuses, well, you know, he ain't did this. At the end of the day, this dude is the WBC mandatory for the Triple G Canelo fight. Danny Jacobs, I'm pretty sure the WBC went down and asked Danny Jacobs or his handlers if they want the fight to be the interim title fight for Charlo and Jacobs. They passed and they went to 4. They went to Hugo Centennial Jr. That's what people not understanding, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, people going to love to hate. You know, the South is taking over boxing. That's what it's looking like. They can hate all they want. You know, when Charlo get his opportunity, he like to capitalize on it or, you know, deal with the backlash. So that's the thing about opening your mouth. You know, if you ain't gonna back it up, you better be ready to go for the ridicule that comes with it. But this will be a hell of a fight. I don't know who I pick. I'm a huge Billy Joe Saunders fan. I like Charlo as well. Tough fight. Tough fight. Depends on, you know, what Billy Joe Saunders show up. But Saunders, you know, haven't fought a guy like Charlo, and I don't think Charlo's fought a guy like Saunders. Well, he fought Lara, but Saunders is a little bit more offensive. It'll be a good fight, and I think it'll be a treat. And it's time for the middleweights to start fighting each other. We gone.